In this video, we will learn 10 new words through short stories. It might seem like a small step, but in 100 days, you will easily learn 1,000 words, which is a big achievement. To help you learn better, please watch each video twice. At the end of the video, try to make your own sentences using the new words you've learned. Stay with us and let's explore today's new words.
A simple misunderstanding. When I first met Mia, I thought she didn't like me. She always seemed cold and distant. One day, during a team meeting, I shared an idea for a project. Mia crossed her arms and looked away. I felt embarrassed. I thought she hated my ideas. Later that week, I overheard Mia talking to another colleague. She said, "I hope I didn't upset Sarah. Sometimes I look serious, but I really liked her idea." I was shocked. It was just a misunderstanding. Mia wasn't cold, she was just shy. I decided to talk to Mia. I asked her, "Did you like my idea in the meeting?" She smiled and said, "Of course. I think it's brilliant." I laughed and told her about my misunderstanding. She laughed too and said, "Sometimes people misunderstand me because I'm not very expressive." That conversation changed everything. We became good friends. We worked together on the project and it was a huge success. But misunderstandings don't only happen at work. One day my brother called me. He sounded upset. "Why didn't you come to my birthday dinner?" he asked. I was confused. "What dinner? You didn't tell me." He sighed and said, "I sent you a text last week." I checked my phone and realized I had missed his message. It was another misunderstanding. I apologized and we planned a special lunch together to celebrate. Now I always remind myself, misunderstandings can happen to anyone. The important thing is to talk, ask questions, and try to understand the other person. A simple misunderstanding doesn't have to ruin a relationship.
The art of compromise. My name is Daniel, and I've learned something important. Life is all about compromise. I didn't understand this at first, but one event changed my perspective forever. Last year, my best friend Alex and I decided to start a small business together. We were so excited, but we had very different ideas. I wanted to sell handmade candles, while Alex wanted to focus on custom notebooks. We argued for days. Neither of us wanted to compromise. One evening, Alex said, "Daniel, we need to find a solution, or this business will fail before it starts." He was right. So we sat down and talked. We decided to combine our ideas. We would sell gift sets with both candles and notebooks. It was a compromise. At first, I wasn't sure. I worried that the compromise wouldn't work. But when we launched our business, customers loved the idea. They said the gift sets were unique and thoughtful. I realized that the compromise wasn't a loss. It was a win for both of us. But compromise isn't just for business. One weekend, my wife wanted to visit the beach, but I wanted to go hiking. We couldn't agree. Finally, we compromised. We would hike in the morning and visit the beach in the afternoon. Turned out to be one of the best days we ever had. Now I understand that compromise means finding a middle ground. It doesn't mean losing. It means working together to make something better. Whether it's with friends, family, or coworkers, compromise helps us move forward.
Power of reliability. My name is Emma, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's the value of reliability. I didn't always understand how important it was, but one unforgettable experience changed my view forever. Last year, I started a new job as an event organizer. My boss, Mr. Carter, said, "Emma, our clients value reliability above everything. Never promise something you can't deliver." I nodded, but I didn't realize how serious he was. One day, I planned a wedding for an important client. I hired a photographer, but on the morning of the wedding, he canceled. I panicked. The entire event depended on the reliability of the photographer. I called everyone I knew until I found a replacement. He arrived just in time and the wedding was perfect. Afterward, the client said, "Emma, your reliability saved my big day." That moment taught me a lesson. Reliability means people can trust you no matter what happens. But reliability isn't only important at work. My best friend Lily and I had been planning a weekend trip for months. The night before, she called me and said, "Emma, I'm really tired. Can we cancel?" I was upset, but I remembered how much I valued reliability. I said, "Lily, I understand, but I need you to keep your promise." She agreed and we went. By the end of the trip, she said, "Thank you for reminding me about reliability." This was the break I needed. Now, I always think about Mr. Carter's words. Reliability is everything. Whether it's at work, with friends, or in life, being reliable builds trust and respect.
How an acquaintance helped me. My name is Liam, and I've always thought acquaintances were just casual connections. I never expected an acquaintance to change my life. It started one rainy evening. I was rushing home when I saw a man struggling to fix his car. I didn't know him well, just an acquaintance from my neighborhood. His name was Mr. Miller, and we had only spoken a few times. Still, I decided to stop and help. As I held the flashlight for him, Mr. Miller smiled and said, "Thank you, Liam. It's good to have reliable acquaintances." I laughed and replied, "I'm happy to help, Mr. Miller." We worked together for an hour and finally got his car running. A week later, I received a surprise. Mr. Miller called me and said, "Liam, I've heard you're looking for a job. I happen to know someone who's hiring." I was shocked. I never thought an acquaintance would go out of their way to help me like that. The job interview went well, and I got the position. On my first day, I thought about how a simple act of kindness towards an acquaintance had led to such an amazing opportunity. Over time, I realized that acquaintances are more than just people you know casually. They can become important connections, opening doors you never imagined. Now I treat every acquaintance with respect and kindness. You never know how someone might impact your life or how you might impact theirs.
Power of sincerity. My name is Grace, and I believe sincerity is the most valuable quality a person can have. But I didn't always understand how powerful sincerity could be until one unforgettable experience taught me. It started when I joined a new company. On my first day, I met Emma, a team leader known for her honesty. Her sincerity was refreshing. She welcomed me warmly and said, Grace, don't hesitate to ask for help. Sincerity in asking is the first step to learning. One day, I made a mistake on an important project. I was terrified and considered hiding it, but I remembered Emma's words about sincerity. I decided to go to her office and confess. I said, "Emma, I made a mistake and I'm sorry. I'll do my best to fix it." Instead of being angry, Emma smiled. "Grace, your sincerity matters more than the mistake. Let's work together to solve it." Her words filled me with hope, and we fixed the problem by staying late. A month later, during a team meeting, Emma praised my sincerity in front of everyone. She said, "Sincerity builds trust, and Grace has shown us how important it is." Her words made me proud and taught me a lesson. Sincerity isn't a weakness, it's a strength. Since then, I've tried to live with sincerity in every aspect of my life. Whether it's admitting mistakes, showing gratitude, or expressing feelings, sincerity always creates trust and respect.
The unexpected confrontation. My name is Alex, and I've always avoided confrontation. I thought staying silent was easier than facing problems. But one day, I learned that a confrontation, if handled calmly, can bring unexpected growth. It happened at work. I was part of a team preparing a big presentation. Everyone was excited, except for one person, Daniel. He kept criticizing my ideas. At first, I ignored him, thinking, avoiding confrontation is better. But his comments became harsher, and my confidence dropped. One evening, after a particularly tough meeting, Emma, another teammate, approached me. She said, "Alex, you need to talk to Daniel." Confrontation doesn't mean fighting. It means addressing the issue directly and respectfully. The next morning, I decided to take her advice. I found Daniel in the break room. My heart was racing as I said, "Daniel, can we talk? I feel that your comments in meetings are discouraging, and I want to understand why." Daniel looked surprised but agreed to talk. To my shock, he admitted, "I've been stressed about my own ideas, and I didn't realize I was being harsh. I'm sorry, Alex." That confrontation changed everything. From that day on, Daniel became more supportive, and we worked better as a team. Our presentation was a success, and my confidence grew. I realized that confrontation isn't something to fear. When done with respect, it can clear misunderstandings and build stronger relationships. Now, I embrace confrontation as a way to grow, not to argue. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it.
The effect of compliment. My name is Emma, and I used to think compliments were just words. But one day I learned how powerful a simple compliment can be. It was my first day at a new job. I felt nervous and out of place. Everyone seemed so confident. I wondered, will I fit in here? While I was arranging my desk, a colleague named Sarah walked by. She smiled and said, "I love your scarf. The color suits you perfectly." Her compliment caught me by surprise. It was just a small thing, but it lifted my spirits. I smiled back and said, "Thank you." Suddenly, I didn't feel so invisible anymore. Throughout the day, I noticed something. Compliments were everywhere. Sarah complimented another colleague on their presentation. The manager complimented a team for their hard work. Even the receptionist received a compliment for her cheerful attitude. Inspired by this, I decided to give my own compliment. I told the IT guy, "You're so quick at solving computer problems. It's impressive." His face lit up and he said, "Thank you, Emma. That means a lot." By the end of the day, I realized compliments do more than make people happy. They connect us. They show kindness and create a positive environment. Now, I try to give compliments whenever I can. Whether it's about someone's style, effort, or talent, a compliment can make someone's day. And every time I receive one, I remember Sarah's kind words on my first day. Compliments may seem small, but their impact is big. They remind us that we're seen, appreciated, and valued.
Argument in rainy day. My name is Daniel, and I've always avoided arguments. I thought arguments only made things worse. But one day I discovered they could be useful. It all began on a rainy morning. My best friend, Jake, and I had planned a hiking trip. But as I looked out the window at the pouring rain, I said, "We should cancel. The trail will be too muddy." Jake frowned and replied, "That's not true. A little mud won't hurt. We can still enjoy the hike." I disagreed. "It's not safe. What if we slip?" Jake raised his voice. "You always find excuses. Why can't you just enjoy the adventure?" Our argument grew louder. We both had strong opinions, and neither of us wanted to back down. Frustrated, I shouted, "Fine. Go without me." Jake stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I sat alone, feeling angry and hurt. But as I thought about our argument, I realized something. Jake and I cared about different things. I cared about safety, while he cared about fun. Later, Jake returned, soaked from the rain. He sat down and said, "Daniel, I'm sorry for the argument. I should have listened to your concerns." I replied, "I'm sorry too. I didn't mean to ruin the plan." That argument taught me an important lesson. Arguments aren't always bad. They can help us understand each other better, as long as we're willing to listen and learn. Now, when I argue, I don't see it as a fight. I see it as a way to share my thoughts and understand someone else's perspective. Arguments, when handled well, can bring people closer.
Understanding sarcasm. My name is Emily, and I always thought sarcasm was just another way to make jokes. But one day, sarcasm taught me a surprising lesson. It started during lunch at work. My colleague Mark said, "Wow, Emily, your choice of salad is so exciting." His tone was odd, and I felt confused. Did he really mean it, or was it sarcasm? "Thanks," I replied hesitantly, unsure how to respond. Mark smirked and added, "Oh, don't mention it. I'm sure everyone here dreams of eating lettuce and tomatoes every day." I realized it was sarcasm, but it made me feel annoyed. Why couldn't he just say what he meant? Later, I overheard Mark talking to our boss. The boss asked if he had finished his project. Mark replied, "Oh, of course. I finished everything and even had time to write a novel." The boss frowned and said, "No need for sarcasm, Mark. Just answer clearly." It made me think. Why did Mark use sarcasm so much? Was it to be funny or avoid being honest? I decided to ask him. Mark, I said, why do you use sarcasm all the time? He laughed. Sarcasm is just my way of speaking. It's how I joke. But sometimes it's hard to understand you, I admitted. Sarcasm can be confusing. Mark nodded. You're right. I didn't realize it could make people uncomfortable. I'll try to be clearer. That day I learned that sarcasm can be tricky. It's not always funny, and it can hurt feelings or create misunderstandings. Now I try to recognize sarcasm and respond with patience.
Persuasion to save a job. My name is David, and I never thought persuasion would be so important in my life until one day I had to use it to save my job. It all started when my boss, Mr. Green, announced a new project. He wanted me to work on a big presentation for our company. At first, I thought it would be easy. But as the days passed, I realized that no one believed in my ideas. My coworkers kept saying that my approach wouldn't work. I knew I had to change their minds. I needed persuasion. So I started to prepare my argument carefully. I made sure I had clear reasons for my ideas, and I practiced speaking with confidence. The day of the presentation arrived. I stood in front of the team and began explaining my plan. At first, no one seemed interested, but I used persuasion. I highlighted the benefits of my ideas and how they would make the project more successful. I asked questions to involve my coworkers and made them think about how they would benefit too. Slowly, I saw the change. One by one, my colleagues started nodding and agreeing with me. By the end of the presentation, I had convinced them all. Mr. Green was impressed and praised my persuasive skills. That day, I learned that persuasion isn't just about convincing others to agree with you. It's about presenting your ideas clearly, understanding others' needs, and connecting with them. Now I use persuasion every day, not just at work, but in all areas of my life. It's powerful, but only when done with respect and understanding.